project is pretty much a visual and textual timeline of the civil rights movement in Arizona, beginning with the invitation by former President Durham to have Dr. MLK speak here at ASU. And it then culminates into the ratification of the King holiday.
The goal of this project was to create a display honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s visit to campus on June 3rd, 1964, and to commemorate the 60th anniversary of that visit, which happens to be this year. His visit was such an important part of the school's history, and it's something that not everyone knows about, and it's not well known throughout the city. It was the only time that Dr. King visited the Phoenix area. In 1964 was a particular pivotal year for the civil rights movement.
About 4 years ago, I was at First Institutional Baptist Church, where Pastor Warren Stewart was speaking during a King service. In his presentation, he actually mentioned that Dr. King visited ASU, and that's what prompted my interest in doing further research. Lo and behold, I came across a few documents and also a picture of King, former President Durham, Ralph Abernathy, and a couple of other clergy leaders in this picture, sort of depicting his visit. Why not have a display here in Durham Hall, which is his namesake? It was at the behest of President Crow to meet with library personnel, and that's how Shannon Walker became a part of the project. I did send her some of my research, and she knew that it existed, being that she's the university archivist.
The project really came about as a result of the LIFT initiatives and discussion at ASU. And because of like Black Lives Matter movement and things like that, there was an effort to kind of think of things that ASU can do to contribute to that discussion and contribute to those issues. So I think we thought it was a great idea. But we also knew that we have a limited bandwidth and that it might be great to involve students in the project. So we reached out to our contacts in the public history program, and they were very excited to come aboard and to offer up students. It was potentially a future class to take on the research and kind of coming up with ideas for the display.
So in the public history unit, we have a lot of students that want to work on projects, and it's great actually to have students working on a number of different projects because they're acquiring different skills, but then we're also accomplishing several things simultaneously that help translate history into public spaces and put history out into the world. I was talking with Shannon Walker. Through that conversation, we talked as a group among public history and decided that we would love to have some students help work on the research. One other way that the project expanded was not just MLK's visit, but also the controversies surrounding the holiday.
Myself and two of my library colleagues, Jessica Salo and Renee James, met with the students, and we gave them an overview of what was in the archival collections here at ASU. And in addition to that, we pointed them to some online resources, and just hoping that they can bring all those together to tell the story for the display.
From the very beginning, Shannon really wanted me to be involved in this project because it does document Black and African American people here in Arizona, and that it will assist with more archival materials in Black collections. For me, I spoke with students who were a part of the project about Black newspapers, Black people that they could potentially reach out to for oral histories regarding the project, and then also trying to help my colleagues with finding photographs, archival materials, anything along those lines that documented the visit here to ASU and that impact that it had on the community after Martin Luther King Jr. spoke here at Goodwin Stadium on ASU campus. As the assistant archivist of Black collections here at ASU, it really is important for me to ensure that we are highlighting, uplifting, and supporting Black and African American community and the causes and voices within that community. So to have the ability to be a part of this project really helped me understand Martin Luther King Jr.'s visit here to ASU, why it was important to the community here in Arizona and Phoenix specifically, and how these types of events really rallied folks around the understanding of civil rights and what that meant to Black and African American people during the 1960s and continue on into this day.
Shannon reached out to me and my colleague Jessica Salo because it involved the tape that is in the Greater Arizona collection, but also because of the relationship to history in Arizona. The Lincoln Ragsdale audio recordings are a collection in the Greater Arizona collection. And one of those recordings is Martin Luther King Jr. at ASU on June 3rd, 1964. In 2013, the donor of the collection, Mary Scanlon, she was at a Phoenix Goodwill and she was looking in that section and saw a stack of reel-to-reel tapes. One of the recordings was the Martin Luther King Jr. tape. It documents King's visit to Arizona, specifically to Tempe, and the speech that he gave on June 3rd in '64.
The display does a lot of things. It raises awareness, one, of the event, right? Like I said, there are a lot of people who just don't know that Dr. King visited Phoenix, particularly the Tempe campus. I think it will also help people understand the effort it took from local civil rights leaders as well as the faith community in Phoenix and Tempe to make it happen, right? To bring the visit to fruition, because they all had to work together across faiths and across their own personal interests. We also hope that people just feel proud. It is really cool that Dr. Martin Luther King visited where we live, right? And to think about what his visit would be like today. So we hope that in a lot of ways this display will be the beginning and sort of a launch pad for deeper discussions, scholarship, other projects.
Unfortunately, here in Arizona, we have a deficit when it comes to Black and African American memory and storytelling within our archival records. Only 0 to 2% of known archival collections here in Arizona represent Black and African American people within institutions, and it really is important for us to dig in and highlight and ensure that we are telling these stories because it matters and it's important and it has an impact on the Black and African American students who come through these doors, but then it also has a great impact on the external communities that surround our campuses here within Arizona.
I'm hoping this display will capture a pivotal moment in time where there was an intersection between race, religion, politics, civil rights, and higher education, marked by Dr. King's visit at the invitation of the late President G. Homer Durham.